Once again, thank you for the invitation, because it's always a great pleasure to reflect a little bit on what we are doing and where we are heading at. And what you can see in front of your eyes is the map of the metropolitan area of Szczecin. This orange point in the middle is the core city with almost 400,000 inhabitants, located at the German-Polish border. And on your right side, you have some impressions from the region. In this point, I would like to underline the fact that all maps and pictures are taken by the team I work with, the Regional Office for Spatial Planning. Apart from the next picture in the next slide, please. This is taken by the Copernicus Sentinel data, and it shows really a very attractive place, location at the seaside, with a lot of green spaces, a lot of lakes and waterfronts, and this unique location of the city has always played an important role in the history. As you can see, the city was located within the borders of Sweden, Brandenburg, Prussia, Germany, and now it is a Polish city. And on your right side, you can see the legal environment. So the situation we are trying to deal with, we have two national states, Germany and Poland. We have three federal states, Brandenburg, Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, and Berlin, because Berlin and Brandenburg, they had a common special policy. We have four planning regions. These are those yellow and orange colors. We have two structures of Euro-region Pomerania, and those green area in the middle is the functional area of Szczecin, according to the Polish law, because these cases are dealt with under the national orders. Next slide, please. Despite all those difficulties, we are in a situation that almost every public institution, every level of administration has defined expectations and potentials for the development of this area, whether in a strategic or in planning documents. We have also developed a joint planning vision for the entire German-Polish interaction area, so-called future vision for the future. And these documents were mainly drafted over for the past 10 years. And this process, for sure, in this process, a very significant role was played by the European institutions and regulations, and a discussion devoted to functional areas on the European level. The next slide, please. And still, I would say that the metropolitan region of Szczecin, from this cross-border perspective, is still something what is under development. What we have here is a large city located 15 kilometers away from the national border. And the very natural direction of its development, it's the one towards the state border, the German side, because first, it has always been like that, and second, on the right side, there are natural borders, natural barriers, such as lake and river. And I just checked it yesterday once again. It takes really the same 20 minutes, so you need a very similar time to go from the city center to housing areas on the right side of the river, and from the city center to German neighboring communes. So if we take it into account, the economic situation in the region, the fact that Polish society is 20 years younger than German society, it is well educated, it's mobile. We have here to do with processes that are beyond our control, and one of those processes is, for example, the migration of Polish young families to German communes. Again, I checked it yesterday. You can, for example, buy a house in Germany close to the Polish border for 1,150 euros for approximately 140 square meters. And for the same number of square meters in Poland, you have to pay 30% more. And purchasing power adjusted to GDP per capita in Poland, this is 22,000 euros, and in Germany, 36. So, but again, we are living in a situation where we have two systems, national systems, where laws, currency, language, and as you said before, the historical differences create quite often a mental barrier among people, and our job is to practically solve this problem related to the local needs. And next slide, please. The development process. So the Polish-German border belongs to this in the EU with quite a good development potential, paradoxically due to this demographic and market and payment differences. And therefore, we see further development of this functional area as solutions to make this common area available to inhabitants for employment and non-employment, non-work activities. We would like to, as a public service, provide verified information on how to safely use the environment and its opportunities. We are trying to help to inspire communication and integration among neighbors, and integrate potentials and minimize problems. Okay, the next slide. How to overcome barriers. I'm consciously not talking here about the coordination system in the functional areas in Germany, because the specific situation we have here in the region is we have one big Polish city, metropolitan city, with surroundings, with small cities and rural areas on both sides, in Poland and in Germany. And of course, I think that we have enough national instruments devoted to the question of functional areas in Poland, such as integrated territorial investments, local government contracts, joint strategies, and of course, they all have their pros and cons, but the main problem for us is that they do not operate across the border. And the problem with typical cross-border solutions like European Grouping for Territorial Cooperation is that those procedures are quite long to be able to establish areas of cooperation, responsibilities, tasks, and then they are rather operating in a quite narrow area. Since in general, cross-border cooperation is always an additional task implemented on the basis of rather soft, informal territorial cooperation, because none of the national or regional institutions will have their legal task going beyond the border. Their tasks were focused on domestic needs and are or should be universal for border and not border, so-called central areas. Okay, next slide. Therefore, we are trying to find some common solutions for the situation we have here. So on the one hand, we have a specific, unique, very interesting and attractive common area. On the other hand, we have divided responsibilities and many actors who have to play a significant role here. And we think that the inclusion of territoriality as an additional horizontal criteria for Interreg program could be a good solution to strengthen the cooperation on the ground. For example, the definition of dedicated expectations for projects in Interreg, which display the characteristics for the strengthening of territorial cohesion. Maybe the integration of territoriality as an adjunct principle used in selection process of the Interreg projects. That will be something what could help us to work not only in sectoral areas, but on the more horizontal level. I think that the idea of integrated territorial plans we have heard before sounds also very attractive for us. The next slide. And here I would like to really devote 2 last minutes to present shortly a project of horizontal importance, which in our opinion could be an example of actions going beyond this usual co-financing of sectoral activities. This is the Interreg project, cross-border monitoring, innovative data collection for the metropolitan region of Szczecin. And the next slide, please. Here you can see the areas we decided to closer cooperate with. This is, of course, transport and mobility industries in the future, where, for example, green transformation is one of the main topics in this question. Tourism and recreation, because we are a tourism region, network cooperation, of course, and rural-urban cooperation. Next slide, please. The aim of the project is to provide figures and numbers, so-called territorial territorial Beweise auf Deutsch ist auf Deutsch, auf English, evidences, okay, territorial evidences on the metropolitan region. On your right side, you can see the basis set of indicators we have chosen for the monitoring of this area. Some of them is the lessons learned from the corona situation in the region where the border was closed. For example, one-day visitors traffic. This is something what we would like to, where we would like to have more information about the situation. Of course, passenger flows from the entire region and passengers flows for the labor market. Then we have territorial availability to services, demographic potentials, green transformation, education, work market, and cross-border social activity. And the next slide, please. What we are trying to do is, with the help of such maps and so-called territorial evidences, we are trying to provide knowledge and facts and figures to the decision makers and to residents in the metropolitan area. In Tallinn, we saw the idea of the tunnel. We have a tunnel too. You can see it on this map because part of our joint region are islands, and the map you see in front of your eyes is the territorial availability to one of the largest resorts on the Baltic Sea, Świnoujście, in the moment where the tunnel is ready. And referring to the motto of this conference, bringing territoriality into Interreg, we can see on this example that the functional approach as a result of the project is widely expected, but the planning of this kind of approach, it requires breaking through many mental barriers and organizational barriers, and using innovative approach to the solution. So that's pretty much it. I think we have the last slide with the contact to our office if you are interested in the question of metropolitan region of Szczecin or the project itself. I'm ready to answer your questions. Thank you very much.